The garden has its own laws, and if you listen closely, nature will always tell you what's next because every great garden runs on a few unspoken laws, and the soil is the best teacher of all. So, the first rule of gardening: start where you are. You don't need perfect soil, perfect tools, or even a plan. The first rule of gardening is just to begin. Every master gardener started with dead plants and determination, and master gardeners still kill plants too. Okay, we just turn it into compost, right? What's stopping you from starting? What is your fear? I want to have a conversation about it in the comment section. The 70-30 rule. So I have a couple examples of this. So you tell me in the comment section which one is the 70-30 rule that you've heard. So focus on soil. Spend 70% of your effort building soil and only 30% on the plants, because if your soil is alive, your garden will thrive. Compost, mulch, microbe health. If you're frustrated with your plants, don't blame them. Check the soil first. So that's one. This next 70-30 rule: 70% reliable plants. These are long-lived, structurally sound plants like perennials, shrubs, grasses that provide year-round interest with their foliage, stems, or evergreen nature. They form the backbone of the garden and remain attractive throughout most of the year. And then plant 30% of that space seasonal filler plants. Temporary, annuals, specific perennials, color, texture. They fill in gaps. Plants mature and then be replaced or die back, making its way for more permanent elements. I feel like that 70-30 rule is for regular landscaping, ornamentals. I'm not sure that's a gardening for edibles kind of a situation. And then here's another 70-30. 70% native plants, emphasizing planting species native to the local ecosystem to support the local wildlife, such as birds, pollinators, and insects, and 30% non-native plants, but non-invasive. The rule of three: plant for success. Again, there was different answers for this, so you tell me what your rule of three is in the comments. Nature loves diversity. The rule of three reminds us that not every plant will thrive, and that's okay. One will flourish, one will fail, and one will surprise you. And when you're designing beds, plant in threes. It just looks and feels right to the eye. Now, the rule of three I hear about is design principle, so suggesting that planting in groups of three creates natural looking balance, rhythm, and visual appeal. How many of you plant in odd numbers? Let me know in the comments. This is another saying I've heard: plant one for the mouse, one for the crow, one that dies, and one that grows. Another rule: the 3-year rule. Patience grows gardens. The 3-year rule in gardening refers to the growth pattern of many perennials, which follows a 3-year cycle. Sleep in the first year, creep in the second, and leap in the third. So sleep, creep, leap. The first year is for root establishment, the second year is for noticeable top growth, and then the third year is when the plant matures, grows to its full size, produces some blooms, you get some food, right? Here's a different 3-year rule. So you tell me which one you know in the comments. It takes 3 years to really understand your space. Year one, you learn your soil. Year two, you experiment. Year three, you harvest wisdom. And the land learns you too. And that's a relationship worth building. The 3-hour rule: light matters. The 3-hour rule in gardening is a guidance to avoid gardening between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. in the summer to protect your health and benefit your plants. The UV sun rays are strongest, increasing a lot of risk for you, the gardener, and that's when the plants are going to be the most stressed. Water is just going to evaporate quickly. Pruning and harvesting isn't a good idea at this time. The finger test rule: water by feel. Don't water by a calendar. Water by connection. Stick your finger in the soil. If it's dry an inch down, it's time to water. Your soil will tell you what it needs if you take the time to listen to it and observe it. The 10% rule: always experiment. Dedicate a little corner of your garden, about 10%, to curiosity. Try new crops, new techniques, new colors. That's how we grow as gardeners. The 80-20 rule: 80% of your success comes from 20% of your habits. Consistent watering, composting, mulching, and observation. Don't get lost in fancy fertilizers and new gadgets. The basics still win. The 80-20 rule in gardening, or the Pareto principle, suggests that 20% of your effort yields 80% of your results. So think about that next time you're out in the garden. The leaves, the leave some for nature rule. Pollinators, birds, and soil critters are your partners. Leave a few blooms and seed heads. That's your biodiversity insurance, right? The never garden angry rule. Does anybody have this rule? I, I feel like some of us go out to garden when we're angry so we can reset. So, what do you say in the comments? When you're frustrated, step away. Plants can feel your energy too. Gardening is a relationship, not a command. And sometimes the best garden task is a deep breath. Has anybody gardened angry? I feel like if I was angry and I went out to the garden, that would go away really fast. Okay, so let's do a bonus one. The rule of return. Whatever you take, give something back. Compost, mulch, or even gratitude. That's the real cycle of abundance. Gardening rules aren't about control, they're about connection. Nature isn't asking us to follow her blindly, she's asking us to pay attention. So as you plan, plant, and harvest this year, try tuning into these rhythms and see which one speaks to you. Remember, you're not just growing food, you're growing wisdom. Now, I always say at the end, grow every day in every way.